Let me say this clearly, because people love to pretend this isn't real. Black people are the most hated group in America. Somebody right now is racing to their keyboard, ready to hit me with the "y'all are always playing victim" type of take. I can feel you through the screen, little bro. Chill out. Because y'all gotta remember, hatred isn't just slurs or violence. It's narratives, blame, and how a country talks about you when you're not in the room. And in America, no group gets blamed, scrutinized, generalized, and villainized more consistently than black people. Gotta be honest, right? Every major issue in America somehow gets traced back to us. Whether it's crime, poverty, division, or the country falling apart, somehow it's always us.
Why do you think black people are 13% of the population, commit 50% of the crime, but only contribute 5% to the GDP?
Black fatigue. It's all over my FYP page. Thank you. I am so happy that this is being brought up. And oh, by the way, for us white people that have been around the block a long time, this isn't new to us. We've been dealing with this for over 40 years.
A white woman who was purchasing something inside makes the claim that a young black child sexually assaulted her.
That's right, the son grabbed my...
Surveillance video obtained by Pix11 from inside the Sahara Deli appears to vindicate the young boy, clearly showing him walking by, rushing out to leave with his family.
And the crazy part is, we've never oppressed anyone. People will bring up the African kingdom when they hear me say that, but it didn't create a world system where Africans dominated continents, extracted wealth worldwide, or enforced racial hierarchy. We don't have a history of colonizing countries. We didn't build empires off of genocide. We didn't steal land across the globe, and we definitely didn't enslave entire races of people. White America constantly shifts the narrative away from its own history and places it on us. Instead of dealing with colonialism, slavery, genocide, exploitation, etc., the focus always becomes black crime, black culture, black behavior, black attitudes. Because if the country actually sat with the full history of white supremacy, not the brainwashed version that they tried to feed you, not just in America but globally, the whole system of white superiority would completely collapse. So instead, black people get turned into the scapegoat. If they can successfully convince everybody that we're the biggest threat to society, then they don't have to question who built the system in the first place. So let's talk about history for one quick second, right? We all know slavery was horrific. And honestly, me saying that is an understatement. It wasn't just forced labor. It changed the entire balance of the world. It created wealth for white nations and instability everywhere else. Colonialism destroyed cultures, borders, language all across Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America, and Asia as well. As you know, millions of people died. But honestly, I don't want to focus too much on slavery in this video, because that needs a whole other video dedicated towards it, not just a quick 2-minute segment. You get what I'm saying? But even after slavery, the violence didn't stop. For some reason, that just was not enough for them. If we totally disregarded all of the evil that was done to us, you'll start to notice a pattern throughout history. We are not the only people that they have terrorized on a consistent basis. Ours is way more consistent than other people's, but they do this to other groups as well. Of course, it's not as bad. Nowhere near it. You got things like the My Lai massacre, where US soldiers murdered unarmed Vietnamese civilians.
American soldiers gunned down more than 500 unarmed civilians in a village called My Lai. The dead were women, old men, children.
170 people were marched down in there. Women, old men, babies. GI stood up on the side with their weapons on full automatic and machine gun fire.
There were no weapons captured. There were no draft age males killed. They were civilians.
Nuclear testing on Bikini and Etowitok atolls, where indigenous people were displaced and poisoned for years. They literally tested nukes at their homes, bro. That's crazy. And after their homes were used for nuclear testing, they saw higher cancer rates, abnormal birth defects like extra fingers, extra toes, big heads, clear skin that you could see all of their organs through, and a lot of other horrific side effects that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Some babies were born without limbs. There was an instant where there was a baby with no arms or legs and no head. The skin was transparent and they could see all the organs beneath the skin. This baby was born with white hair and no ears and no genitals.
You also have coups, invasions, and destabilization across the globe. Listen, I know a lot of y'all racist hate us, right? But y'all literally went into Venezuela and kidnapped their president. Y'all just said forget sovereignty, huh? That's not even a thing no more, right? That's crazy. I want you to sit back and think about that for 1 second. What if another country invaded the US and kidnapped our president? All feelings aside about how you may feel about him and his policies, right? Most of us here don't even see that as a possibility. So imagine if it became a reality. If something like that was even attempted, it would be an all-out war. And you know I'm telling the truth. Like that's not crazy to y'all that y'all just went into another and captured a president? That's wild. But when y'all do it, it's okay, right? That's real power abuse. But somehow black people are framed as the danger? That don't make sense. Now let's talk about violence, because people love to bring this up. Every time there's a crime involving a black person, it becomes a reflection of all of us. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be something petty or it could be something major. But when violence comes from somebody in the white community, it's a lone wolf, mental health, an isolated incident, right? It's different then.
Adam Lanza shot and killed 20 first graders and 6 educators. The report says he had profound mental, emotional, and developmental challenges.
He had a history of mental illness and had become physically aggressive, throwing a chair and glass across the room.
Card was experiencing an acute mental health episode in the months before Wednesday's massacre.
Most of the mass shooters in this country are white males, but nobody says white culture is violent. No one blames white communities as a whole, and no one suggests that white people need to do better as a group. We just send our thoughts and prayers to the victim and keep it pushing until the next tragedy happens. No accountability at all. And that tells you everything you need to know about the double standard. If most of them were black, oh my goodness, it would have been total, they would have been losing it. It would have been crazy, right? In my opinion, black people in America are easy to hate for one reason. Just us being here contradicts their entire narrative. This country loves to talk about freedom, but while it was being built, we were enslaved the whole time. It likes to talk about equality like it was always meant for everyone, but we were deliberately excluded from it, and still are to a certain degree. And it talks about justice even though the legal system has historically been used to criminalize us instead of protecting us. Our existence exposes their lies. So instead of fixing the system, it just attacks the people that expose it. What also makes people uncomfortable is the fact that despite everything that was done to us, Jim Crow, slavery, redlining, mass incarceration, environmental racism, and other things that are still being done to this day, we did not disappear. We're still here. And instead of acknowledging our existence, America just framed it into entitlement and victimhood. But victims don't usually get blamed for everything in society. Targets do. Y'all gotta understand, America needs black people to be seen as the villain. This is very necessary for them, because if we aren't, then the system has to explain itself. And once people start asking who made the rules, who controls resources, who benefits, that's when things start to get uncomfortable for them, because they lose control over the narrative. So instead of dealing with that, it's just easier for them to put the blame on us. That narrative makes it easier for them to justify a lot of things that they do. Even if it's complete BS, it don't matter. It's how environmental racism keeps happening, for example, without people noticing or even making a big deal about it. It's why toxic sites get placed near black neighborhoods, why polluted water gets ignored, and why our communities are treated like they're disposable. If black neighborhoods are already seen as the problem, then neglect doesn't look like neglect anymore. It just looks normal. And harm doesn't look like harm. It looks justified. So the focus stays on us instead of the policies and decisions that put us in those conditions in the first place. You see how that works? And that same mindset spills over into everything else that we deal with. Policing, schools, housing. As long as we're framed as the problem, the system never has to take accountability or responsibility for the damage that is caused to our communities.